Okay, we're live. So I'm a little late because, well, you know how it goes. It's Saturday morning, Saturday baseball. Nice to see you, Malpal. I always get happy when I see you there. Lenny went to his daughter's today. They're celebrating Father's Day, so that's just really good for him. He won't be here like he normally is. Anyway, it's good for him to be able to see his family. And Mark got a job today, so that's really exciting. And things are going well for me. Um, let's get right into it. So I was scrolling through the news right before I came on here today, and just a few minutes ago, and I saw a really great story about Lindor and his dad. Apparently, Lindor has been hitting like 300 for the last couple of weeks now, so that's really great because well, number one of our good friends here in the chat room, Traveler, he traded for Lindor. He traded two closers away because he had like a super good lead in saves. And I mean, frankly, let's be real. You can only be ahead so much in saves. You can only get so many points for saves. So he decided that he had plenty of saves, so he was going to trade. He traded for Lindor. He took a chance on Lindor. He's been having a horrible season, as you all know. But he traded, his reasoning was absolutely right, too, because he said, you have to take chances. You really do have to take some chances, and you have to just choose which of those chances you're willing to take. But you do have to, you have to have you have to have a little bit of risk, or you can't win because there's just no other way around it. So I am getting a little frustrated with my teams because I feel like even though everybody's teams are injured, I feel like mine are extra injured. There's enough. I mean, I have so many injuries. It makes me just wonder, like, what would my team be like if I'm still competing with 10 injuries in Tout Wars? I'm talking specifically about Tout Wars right now. I just feel like it's such a struggle. I have Gallen, Strasburg, Lamette, Buxton, Luis Robert, George Springer. It's nonstop with these. Luis Castillo is probably on that. No, actually, I think that's the one league. I do not have Luis Castillo in that league, but he's doing well. So I was never going to drop Luis Castillo to begin with, but I was benching him. I had already started benching him, and my biggest thing is that I don't want to drop him, and he's one of those that would just bring so much pain if you dropped him and then someone else picked him up, and then you know how that goes. Or I was thinking in my Tout Wars league, I dropped Lourdes Gurriel, and he's got a great week coming up here in the next week, and he's been hitting. Of course, he's been hitting. But here's a guy in Lourdes Gurriel that is batting at the bottom of the Toronto batting order. He was having a horrible season, and at that point, you do have to say, how much is this guy really worth? How much is he, like, is he really going to help me? Is he going to make up for all this time that he's been horrible, that he's taken up a spot in my roster? Like every week, I've been just picking up players because these are all temporary players. Lourdes Gurriel was supposed to be a great, permanent, set it and forget it type of player. That did not happen. Did I tell you I have George Springer on that team too? So anyway, back to Lourdes Gurriel. What would be the worst is when I play the person that got him after I dropped him, because the very next week I went and tried to get him back, and I lost the bidding by $1. So I did try to get him back. I didn't pay enough money, and so he's on another team that I'm bound to face any time. And that would break my heart if that happened with Luis Castillo. I just can't drop him. Same with Gallen. I can't. But let's go on. Enough about me. Let's talk about what's going on in baseball. So another thing that I saw when I was getting ready to come on is that Jacob deGrom is an interesting situation because he was diagnosed with flexor tendonitis. Okay, the flexor is the one that attaches your thumb to. It's a ligament that attaches your thumb to your arm. Basically, the trigger thumb has to do with this type of injury. And so, yes, while I'm not a doctor, I still have the ability to go and look online at what a flexor tendonitis is and how serious it is. And for a pitcher, it could lead to Tommy John, no question. It's like when a pitcher recently went out who had a flexor strain. But this injury, it does not heal on its own. For the most part, you do not want to continue to make it worse. And you can find out what it is. Just type into Google, flexor tendonitis, and you can see that what makes it worse is the constant throwing of baseballs. And DeGrom, dude, this guy, I don't know. He's got a very smooth, great delivery and all, but he still throws the ball really fast. And I'm just saying, he's going to come out on his start tonight. It's tomorrow afternoon. And even though they will not say, the management over there is not saying for sure that he's going to make his start. They're basically just putting out there that he's on a day-to-day basis. But if you ask him, he's going to be making his start tomorrow. And then he said that he kind of tried to take the blame off that flexor tendonitis and put it on the fact that his shoulder was sore and that he was feeling this before he made his start the other day. Before, this is the type of guy that would absolutely play through injury if he had to, right? He's probably done it a lot of times, because when do you ever see him out? Let me pull this up here and tell you what it says. There's a couple interesting things. So, this is going to be on Monday. He's going to make his, it says that it's scheduled on Monday. But he says he can't hit. Why can you not hit, but you can throw? That makes no sense. That just makes no sense. So you shouldn't really be hitting anyway as a pitcher. That good of a pitcher, you should just be like, whoa, lay off of that. But still, why is he afraid of hitting but not pitching? Another thing is this sticky substance nonsense that's going on. I could probably do a whole show about this sticky substance stuff. The fact that Bauer is really annoying me right now, even though I'm the hugest fan of Bauer, I'm the biggest fan. I am a little annoyed at him right now because I don't understand why he's been complaining about this for so long. And MLB is finally saying, like, seriously doing something about it. And he's pissed off about it because they're changing the rules in the middle of the season. It's like, what do you want? When are you going to be happy, dude? I mean, what? But I agree that, number one, I don't think it's ever happened. I think that the majority of things that have changed in baseball, I know this to be true. I can't be sure that it has never happened, but if it did, it's been for some weird, crazy circumstance. But to change the rules of the game in the middle of the season is not really what it is technically, because the rule is already that. They're just going to enforce the rules in the middle of the season. But Glasnow made very good sense. If you put your hand around something that, like a ball, and squeeze really hard, and you will feel your forearm flexing, and you will feel all the muscles in your arm tensing up. And so what he was trying to do the other day was pitch without any substances on his ball. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because if you're trying to grip the ball, you're going to try to hold it really tight. And that's what they need to do to be able to have command over these 100-mile-an-hour pitches. And it's not that I am even surprised that Glasnow is hurt, because he's never pitched a full season in his life. But you know what I mean? He said that, it took some balls to come out and say that too, by the way, to be honest, and just be like, look, this is how it is. We've all been, every pitcher has been using sticky substances, and it's kind of time to change the rule if you think about it. But anyway, Bauer's annoyed that all of a sudden now the MLB wants to change the rules, because they put out the memo. They said that they were going to suspend pitchers for 10 games. And they get paid. Okay, well, that's happening. Not that it really matters in a 162-game season. Shoot, that's like one dinner out with your friends. So anyway, they still get paid. And Bauer's annoyed that they're putting the authority into the hands of the umpire. But see, I feel like he will never be satisfied, because I don't think he realizes how above and far and away above every other person in baseball when it comes to the knowledge of this. He can actually manipulate his movement and his velocity if he wants to. And you see it not only just in his different pitches, but on demand. So while everybody's looking at spin rate right now, I noticed last weekend, when there was a tweet, the guy was posting Bauer's spin rate, and I noticed that the movement, horizontal and vertical, neither one of those changed, even though his RPM spin rate was like 200 RPMs lower than it was before. So everyone's like, oh, we got Bauer figured out. Like, no, you don't. You really don't. You do not have him figured out, because he's got this thing that he came up with in 2018 called Bauer units. And it's based on your spin rate divided by your velocity. And that gives you your Bauer unit. And so a pitcher that throws 95 miles an hour and has an RPM, is it RPM? Why am I saying RPM? Is that right? Whatever it is it RPM? Holy moly. What do they call it? The measurement for spin rate. Tell me in the chat room. But I hope that I'm, uh-oh. Is that Lenny calling? Good morning. Can you hear me? Oh, look, there's a guest Andreas. Guest Andreas. That's me. No, it's not. It's not me, but okay. So you hear what I'm saying? Bauer was mentioning when he was talking about Bauer units that a pitcher who throws 95 miles per hour with a spin rate of 2,200, let's say, and versus a guy that throws at like 85 miles an hour with a spin rate of 20. It's got to be the lower one. It's the one, because if you're throwing really fast, right? So it's the one with the slower pitch that has the better spin rate, because if your velocity goes up, if you're working on your pitching and you get your velocity up, which happens all the time to several pitchers every year, you see an increase in velocity, a slight increase, right? That's a good sign. If that happens, your spin rate is automatically going to go up, because the spin rate it depends on, I don't know, like I can only explain so much. So let me just try to stay with the topic here. Bauer units, he can manipulate the ball. He can use sticky substances only on certain pitches, and he can also mess around with his movement and his velocity without any kind of substance, because I think that over the last couple starts, he's not been using it. I don't really know. Like, part of me really wants him to be that guy that doesn't even care if he gets caught, because he just wants, that's what he's been saying, and that's what I believe that he means, is that he just wants there to be a level playing field, that there's pitchers that would not have a career unless they use it because everybody else is using it. And he wants MLB to enforce the rules. That's why he gets so annoyed that he's been bitching about this for years. And finally, when they start doing something, he's like, oh, the umpire gets to be in charge of what, he wants to know all these technical details that I guarantee nobody ever even thought through. Nobody thought through them. So I love the fact that he is, because I guarantee there's no other pitcher that understands spin rate better than him, or they're not even on the same language as he is. So I do think it's going to affect baseball, and I don't know if it's necessarily going to be in a good way, but I do think that MLB needs to do something, and it right now seems about that time, because you have players complaining about it. This could cause a strike, a walkout. This could cause that if they're not careful with this, because they have another agreement to sign, and I don't want to use the word hate, but they distrust each other. There is no respect, no honesty, no trust. The relationship between the players and the ownership it's non-existent, okay? It's non-existent. MLB is out there doing their virtue signaling all the time, trying to virtue signal to everybody, rather than, dealing with the people that make the money for the clubs. This had started a long time ago, but when COVID hit is when it really started. That's when the players really figured out how much MLB ownership is on their side. And to be honest, they didn't do a very good job of trying to pretend that they care about the players. They didn't do a good job at all, really, to be honest. They wouldn't even play the minor league players who get paid like peas. They make peas, okay? They live on peas. They have to live with their parents because they can't afford rent while they're in the minors. If they go from that to making $15 million a year, there has to be some, and it would cost an entire MLB team. The ownership would have to pay for the entire team of minor league pay during COVID, $1 million, $1 million. Whoa. So look, You got to treat your people right. That's how it works. So anyway, Bauer Hour, whatever. He's put up a great video recently, just a couple days ago, where he talked all about the sticky substances and stuff. And as you know, I feel like he's bitching too much. He needs to quit complaining. He needs to be like, what is going to make me happy? I'm going to complain if they're doing something in the middle of the season? No, you are the one that brought it on, dude. You brought it all on. So Ohtani, okay. When you compare Ohtani and Tatis together for this season, the numbers are unbelievable close, okay? They both, let me tell you what it is. 22 home runs to 20 home runs. I'm always going to say Tatis and then Ohtani's numbers. 22 to 20 home runs. 13-10, that's stolen bases. 10, oh no, Tatis is on the top and Ohtani's the second number. So Tatis has 13 stolen bases. Doesn't it feel like he has more stolen bases than that? I don't know, but Ohtani has 10 right now. 49 runs to 45 runs. They each have 49 RBIs. The average, Tatis actually has a better average than Ohtani by just 10, 281 to 271. Their on-base percentage is 356 and 354. Their strikeout percentage is 28 each, and their walk rate is 11 and 10. These two are like identical, but then look at Ohtani doing the pitching too, just getting it done. How exciting. He's going to hit in the home run derby, which is fun. I kind of figured he would since he's new around here, you know. It's like his first time. So, but you know how they talk about there's like this, what should we call it? Like folklore or something. You could call it superstition, or you could just call it, I don't know. But there is something to the fact that these players that are involved in the home run derby, they don't hit good afterwards because they stand there, they hit like however many, and then for some reason they're just not the same. So Lenny sent me an interesting explanation for that this morning that said that you think about it, these players that are invited to the home run derby, they really are players that have had a really good first half and likely probably better than their talent says that they'll be, and they usually probably just regress back down to what they normally should have been anyways. But it's always fun to pretend that these hitters just magically can't hit anymore after they come back from this. They never say it about the All-Star game, but the All-Star game, the players do the same thing. The people that play in the All-Star game, but they never talk about it like that. The home run derby, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but Ohtani is a little concerning because he just feels he's not sturdy. Like he's not tough. He doesn't feel tough anyway. I don't think he's had a full season yet of health. Okay, so we want Tatis in there. We definitely want Juan Soto in there. And Pete Alonso is automatically going to be in there because he won last year. I hate the fact that they're having this thing in Colorado. I think it was the worst thing they could have done to these people in Atlanta. And I really think that's just another thing. Because you take the reasoning that you give for moving the home run game, the All-Star week, the whole reason that you give is because you're trying to look out for basically you're trying to look out for black people that are not able to vote, supposedly, because they have no ID, supposedly. Like, what? Every black person I know ever has had an ID. But, okay, so, but anyway, it's not the Atlanta people's fault. It's not the business owner's fault or the hotel room's fault. What about all of this stuff that was planned? Like, the whole All-Star weekend is a big deal. It is absolutely horrific what they did, because when they took it out of Atlanta, which is like over half black business owners, and they moved it to Colorado, which is like 9% white or 9% black business owners, you're not really helping the people that you're saying that you're trying to help. That's just nonsense. It's virtue signaling. It's a nightmare what they're doing. If I didn't do this for money, dude, I don't know if I would. I mean, I love baseball too much, but I get so angry over it. I feel like I don't even want to watch baseball anymore, just based on principle for what they did. It was $100 million worth of money that they took away from the Atlanta people, the same people they're trying to protect. Anyway, you know, I don't like to get all that. So we do definitely want to see some other hitters besides Ohtani and Alonso. We want Tatis, Vladdy Jr. We definitely want Acuna in there. And you guys tell me some in the chat room who you think, and I'll add those to our list. But the more fun than that is who's going to go to the All-Star game. And of course, every team has to have one player. Every there has to be one representative for every team. So, in cases like the Diamondbacks, well, who are they going to send? Actually, Zach Gallen should be the guy, but he's hurt. And I think that the other guy, is Ketel Marte on that team? No. Yes. I don't think there's any other players on that team, hitters or pitchers, that I can think of off the top of my head to go to the All-Star game. All right. The Pirates last night and the Indians. I have the Indians today, and the Pirates, dude, they had a lead of 11-1, okay? In the 5th inning, it was 11 Pirates, 1 for the Cleveland Indians, and all of a sudden the Pirates win the game, but they win the game 11-10 because the Cleveland Indians scored. Now, when I say they were ahead 11-1, that was in the 5th inning. Between the 5th and the 9th inning, the Indians scored 10 runs. No, 9 runs. They already had 1. This is why you always run and play your hardest. This is why those unwritten rules are a bunch of BS. They say you're not supposed to steal bases when you're ahead by 10 runs or 9 runs. You're not supposed to run hard. You're not supposed to you're supposed to ease up. But this is exactly why you don't ever ease up on any team. I don't care if you're ahead. First of all, you shouldn't have to not be playing hard. It's kind of like telling a guy, don't celebrate your home run because that pisses me off. Okay, then play better, I guess. But so they did end up winning the game, so that's good for the Pirates. I can't believe how many runs were scored. It's the second team since 1900 to end a 10 or more run game. No, a 10-game losing streak in a game which they allowed 10 runs. It happened in 1982, but that's the only time since 1900. Whatever. I'm glad that Pittsburgh didn't lose the game, so that would have been just horrible for them. Anyway, Lucchesi, the Mets pitcher Lucchesi, this guy, he's been good. So his last 5 starts, since the Mets put him in the rotation, he's been really good. It's 22 innings, 15 hits, 3 earned runs, 6 walks, 24 strikeouts, and a 1.19 ERA. That's what he's done. I'm going to have to eat my words tomorrow because Lenny's going to be like, oh, remember? Well, I know for sure Lenny brought up Lucchesi to me before the season started, and I was like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, that's going to happen. So we haven't talked about it yet. Kevin Gausman, first 14 games, he has a 1.51 ERA. That's the best by any qualified Giants pitcher in their first 14 games since 1917. That's a good tidbit. Max Fried is another tidbit that I found on my own, reading The Athletic or something. But Max Fried, I know he's been very disappointing to everybody. I have him in my NL only league, so he's just really been just a very big disappointment, and it feels like there's been times when I've looked at him and thought, what the hell is he doing this year? So we knew that he was going to regress a little bit going into this season. We just did, because we knew that his hard hit, his hard contact rate was it was going to regress. It was going to go, it was out of whack. It was really low. So that was going to happen, but it over corrected itself. So his hard hit rate is not normalized at all since he's been in the major league. So he's had really, in his benefit, and now it's not in his benefit. It's actually working against him. But right now, this is what we have right now. I don't know, what does he have right now? Did he pitch yesterday? Okay, I know he pitched yesterday. That's why I put this in here, but I forgot to put what he did yesterday. He did a good job yesterday. I think he pitched 7 innings, and he was very efficient. Okay, so this just explains what the reasoning is. So I'm just going to read it to you because I obviously can't put my words together right. So his left on base, the percentage of runners that are being left on base, which means he allowed them on base, but they didn't score. So he got lucky that they didn't score because it was at 82%. That's pretty high for a starting pitcher. Now it's 71%. That's 10 percentage points difference right now. So that is what went from extreme to extreme. Is 82% left on base. Now it's 71.8% left on base. So he's getting, it's like somewhere in this, the real number sits right in the middle of these two. His hard hit rate was an insanely low 23.2% last year. A rate that low will tell us, what does it tell us? I don't really know what it tells us, but right now he's at 32.7%, his hard hit rate. That's huge. They're hitting him really hard. So obviously you do look for pitchers that have a low hard hit rate, right? That makes sense. Right now it's high on, so he's getting lucky both spots. I hope that yesterday was a turning point for Max Fried, and I thought that I would share this with anybody that has him on any team because that's positive news if you're getting really ready to be at your wits' end with this guy, like a lot of people right now. So here's what we have for the sticky stuff. There's been a lot of research going on that I think is it's valuable. There's been a couple of really good articles on it. This one, Joe Sheehan, he put in his newsletter that it's a chart showing that 17 hardest throwing pitchers from 2002 to 2021 with a minimum of 300 innings pitched. And of those 17, more than half of those pitchers have had Tommy John surgery. The more this point being that the harder that you throw the ball, the more risk you have of Tommy John, the more risk you have of injury. There's just your arm was not built to throw over 100 miles an hour over and over and over. That's just the way it is, unfortunately, because I know everybody loves velocity, but I don't think that it was really that helpful. When your goal is to throw 100 miles an hour and that's it, like that's not a good goal. Because eventually your 100-mile-an-hour fastball, if it's in the same spot every time, then they're going to start hitting it. And so I just don't think it's the most important thing. And I do think it adds to injury. Happy hour on Wednesday nights, you know. And then tomorrow we have Douglas at noon. Then we have George, of course, with the Roto Imbeciles. That's on at 6:30. And we do the round table on Monday night. So you guys know the schedule, but Glass now, it says of those 17 with the hardest throwing 17 pitchers in baseball from the year 2002 to 2021, more than half of them have had Tommy John and others have had injuries to their elbow, but maybe just didn't have Tommy John. Still, they had elbow injuries. Glasnow specifically has never made more than 13 starts in a season until just this year. And this is the first time he's ever made 13 starts, and it's only not even halfway there yet. This guy was not going to last all season anyway. He believes that using the ball without any substance is the reason, and I absolutely think there's something to that. Did you see Trevor Bauer on Twitter putting the ball on his hand like this and then asking everybody on Twitter if this is legal? And obviously it is legal, because why would he ask the question if it wasn't? All it was is rosin and sweat. He says if you mix it in the right manner, if you mix it up right, then you can literally put the ball in like this and then just hold it up like that. It won't fall down. But he said your hand doesn't feel sticky with it. The rule doesn't say, I don't think it says sticky stuff. I think the rule actually says that you can't deface the baseball. You can't change the color of the baseball or put any kind of something on the baseball that would change its look. I don't know. I think that they should have addressed this a long time ago and started to prepare for this. Like, we need to start getting ready to tell these people that they can't use this anymore by creating our own sticky substance, and then everybody uses the same one. Hello. Because this is dangerous for sure, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor. You all know this, but all right. Stop. Doesn't stop me from having opinions. Okay. All right. So DeGrom was doing his regular in-season start routine yesterday. It included a short bullpen. He said things are day by day. It was a good day. DeGrom thinks he's coming in. I don't know what the Mets should do with him, but I would be willing to bet it. The chances are 75% that he is going to end up. He's going to end up injured in the near future. So, look, I'm not saying not to put him in. You absolutely have to put him in. If he's pitching, you have to put him in and pray. Just pray. Let's talk about the schedule coming up. Wait a minute. Did I read all this stuff? I don't think I did. The Diamondbacks, they've lost 15 games in a row now. They've lost 29 of their last 31 and 38 of their last 43. They're 20-51 on the season. They're 10 games behind the fourth place Colorado Rockies, who are absolutely horrible on the road. Anyway, in June, the Diamondbacks have won. Listen to this. They're 1-14 with a 6.94 ERA, and their run differential is -44 in June. They're going to be selling their entire squad, dude. So get ready for Arizona's fire sale. Howard had a good outing last night, by the way. His finest outing since Sticky Gate, what they say. I crack up because he's got this intro into his videos, dude, on YouTube. He's got an intro, and it says something about this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for Ken Rosenthal or baseball blogger Ken Rosenthal. He calls him baseball blogger, or no, he says gossip columnist Ken Rosenthal. Something about baseball blogging. I don't know, but he dogs on Ken Rosenthal. He does not like him at all. He must feel like this doesn't give him a fair shake or something, which is probably true. I don't really read Ken Rosenthal, but anyway. All right. The last night, Ohtani is hitting home runs. Now he's reached 20 home runs as a batter, 20 plus home runs as a batter, and 60 plus strikeouts as a pitcher in 2018 and 2020. Right now he's doing that already, but he's already done that. So I don't think this has ever happened. In fact, I don't think that anybody that's participated in the home run derby has been a pitcher in the same season, at least. I think there's been guys that have switched and traded positions, but in the same season, I don't think it's ever happened. Man, I don't know. I would be concerned because I wouldn't want to get hurt. You have a pitcher and a hitter here in this guy. It's two people, really. It's got two. I just think he's having a great year. It's fun. Okay, the Cardinals, they're having a horrible time right now. Just a couple weeks ago, the Cardinals were absolutely competing in the National League Central, and now they are a bumbling mess. Their pitching is completely depleted. With their best pitcher healthy right now is Adam Wainwright, which in his heyday was great, but right now it's not great. They just have no pitching. And it says here that right now, they just walked last night. They walked the bases loaded. Bases were loaded. They walked in a run basically for the 17th time this season they've done this. They walked in a run with the bases loaded. That's no bueno. That's the most in MLB and actually ties a franchise record. So if they do it anymore, this is definitely going to break a franchise record. They're bound to walk some guy with the bases loaded from here on out. So let's just give them credit right away for that. Yusmeiro Petit, underrated. He's 21-7. His whip is under 1. And that's in all 4 seasons since he's been in the major leagues. He's a good pitcher. He just we don't pay that much attention to him in fantasy because he's not a closer. Really, I think he tried to close and he wasn't very good at it, but maybe not. I think he's more of a setup guy, so he's not that useful in fantasy, and that's probably why he's underrated. All right, let's talk about the upcoming schedule. Atlanta and New York Mets. The Braves and the Mets have 8 games each this week. There's 6 other teams with 7 games, so that's good. But the 2 teams with the 8-game schedule is the Mets and the Atlanta Braves. They play each other for 4 games of that, but the Mets are at home against Atlanta and home against Philly. This is 8 games at home for the Mets. I'd be looking at this when I'm looking at which players to pick up to tomorrow. I'd be looking at, who can I possibly grab from one of these teams. Atlanta goes away to the Mets, and then they go away to Cincinnati. So, I mean, Abraham Almonte is on my list. He's okay. Like, he's not going to get you great counting stats like home runs and all this, but he will get on base and he will score runs and he will do those normal, what they call a pure hitter type thing. Jonathan VR, if he's available. Dominic Smith. I know James McCann is not available at this point. This guy's been hitting like crazy ever since he started hitting. William Contreras is the catcher in Atlanta. They could be good pickups. Like, I don't, depending on your league, some of these guys are going to be available. I wouldn't really trust too much the pitching. If you don't trust the pitcher on a normal week, I wouldn't trust the pitcher this week just because. But the hitting, they get extra bats for sure, those 2 teams. Another guy that you might want to consider is Miles Straw right now, because they are going to Baltimore for 4 games and then, 3 at Baltimore and then 4 at Detroit. Like, what better matchup for the Houston Astros could there be? Miles Straw, if he can get on base, he can steal bases. We know that. He is hitting at the bottom of the order. That's because he has not been that great so far this season. But I did notice that lately he's not so bad. His batting average is up significantly from what it was. So 4 games in Detroit and 4 games in Baltimore. Houston players. Maybe there's another Houston hitter that you might want to like. Toronto has 2 games at Miami and 4 games at home versus Baltimore. Those are 2 good. I just don't know who in the world would be available on the Toronto Blue Jays, because they're fun to watch. Their players are popular. They hit a lot. So you could try to stay away from Los Angeles Angels and Seattle Mariners hitters this week, because they each only get 5 games. So, that's 3 games less than the other 2 teams. The LA hitters have to face Gausman and DeSclafani. That's their first 2 at San Francisco. So the hitters are no good for this team. And then they go to Tampa Bay for 3 games. The Seattle hitters, they have to face Kyle Freeland and Herman Marquez. They're at home, though, so, you can't hit as well as you would be able to at Colorado. That's a ballpark for pitchers. And then they have to go to Chicago White Sox and face Carlos Rodon and Lance Lynn. So do not, if it comes down to who do I pick, don't choose Seattle or Los Angeles Angels. Okay, this week, choose Atlanta, New York Mets. Choose Toronto, maybe. They have 6 games. Houston has 7 games. There's 6 teams with 7 games. The Cardinals, poor Cardinals, we just got done talking about them, but let me go ahead and tell you about their hitting. They rank 28th in weighted on base average and 30th in ISO for the month of June. That's dead last, 30th. They're not hitting good. And their pitching is horrible. So you got it on both sides. They're going to face Detroit. So that's fine. But they have to face Skubal, and he's been getting very good lately. And then they go up against, at home, they face Pittsburgh. Yadier Molina, maybe you want to, I don't know. The bottom line, he's been hitting like crap this month. All the Cardinals hitters have been hitting like crap. Yachty is batting 176 with no extra base hits in the month of June, and Paul DeJong could be somebody that is available this week. I don't know if I would target the Cardinals, but I did bring up Paul DeJong because, well, I'm sick and tired of him, really. I wait for him to be healthy, but I don't know why I wait, because before he was hurt, he wasn't hitting good then either. So I don't know why I expect him to hit better. Carlos Martinez, though, you could maybe consider. Carlos Martinez is pitching better than it seems. I'll tell you that. He I think he might have had a blow up last night, though. I think he might have had one of his bad days. When he has bad days, dude, he has bad days. He could ruin your entire week. If you're in a points head-to-head league, he can ruin it. That's why I don't really recommend him. But I will say that for the most part, if you take out, like, there was one other start besides last night, that if you took that start out, he would be getting, like, his ERA would be 3.10 on the season. This was, I noted this before Carlos Martinez pitched, and I think he pitched last night because I remember seeing something of it. I remember seeing his face, like, looking at the sky going with a really upset look, like it's going out of the park, Okay. He does have a great ground ball rate, and he is he's in the rotation, and he does pitch 5 innings. For the most part, he does. So let's talk about the waiver wire now. You have in Milwaukee, Luis Urias. Now, I don't know what to make of him. He was a pretty high-ranked prospect, and he didn't pan out good. And he hasn't really been able to show us any kind of rollover from what he did in the minor leagues. Anyway, he's batting great right now. In this last 7 days, he's batting .273. And the last 2 weeks, he's batting .267. And the last 3 weeks, he's batting .281. Even though he's only batting .231 on the season, he has been, for the last 3 weeks, hitting above .270. Okay? So that's great. Let's do in the last 3 weeks, he's got 10 RBIs, 3 home runs, 4 doubles. He's 18 for 64. And, he has a triple and a couple stolen bases, 2 stolen bases, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 13 runs. So he could be good. He bats above at the top of the lineup. So that could be good for him. Now, I'm not sure if this is the guy, but one of these guys that we're going to talk about doesn't really hit against lefties. It's not even that he can't hit lefties, but that's just the platoon that he's in right now. And I think it might be because he faces 2 lefties coming up this week. So check out his let's just do that while we're talking right now, because that's what I'm here for. Let's look at the lineups for the last 7 days. We can look and see. We're talking about St. Louis. No, Milwaukee. Milwaukee. All right. Let's see where they faced a lefty. There's no lefties to look at, so it's not him, because this is not him. Let me tell you how many times he's been in the lineup. Batting at the top of the lineup. He's batting at the top of the lineup 5 out of 7 days. He's not in the lineup one day, and the other day he batted 7th. So this guy's batting in the top. He's also, in the last week, he's played third base, second base, not second base twice, but he did play third base, second base, and third base, mostly third base. Bottom line, he qualifies at a lot more than that. He qualifies at shortstop, second base, and third base in fantasy. So that's good. He's facing going to Arizona. That's always good. Can't complain there, right? And then they're at home against Colorado. It's good. He might not be permanent. Daniel Vogelbach on the same team. Let's look at him. Batting second. First and second. Both of these guys are available in like 75% of leagues, so don't mess around. There's no reason why they should be available coming up this week, but the 21st, 22nd. It looks like they have off the 24th. And so they play 6 games. John Birdie is okay. What should we say about Vogelbach? Well, in the last week, he doesn't hit. His batting average will never be good. So just get that through your thick head. It's never going to be good. He hits for power. When he hits, he'll hit. He's a hard-hitting first baseman. He's going to strike out a ton. And let's see, maybe it's not him that gets benched. He plays every day. Moving on. Daniel Vogelbach, first baseman, if you need that. John Birdie, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't put John Birdie in active this week, even though lately I've been seeing when I'm sorting the stats of players that are available in most leagues, he is coming up at the top of the stats for like the last couple weeks. So I've been paying attention to him. John Birdie, he's had a horrible start to the season. We know that he can steal bases. We know that for sure. he hasn't been stealing that many bases, but he has been hitting home runs. Like yesterday, he hit a grand slam, or was it yesterday or the day before? He hit a grand slam. He hits a home run every once in a while, but he's batting really good. He's actually walking a lot more than he was walking before. So that is really helping his statistics. He's 13 for 33 in the last 10 games. This is what he is. 5 RBIs, 6 walks, 6 strikeouts, 8 runs, and 1 home run. He's batting .394 with a .487 on-base percentage. Don't think that's going to last because it's not going to. But over on the season now, he's got 7 homers and 15 RBIs. I know that's not a lot, but he wasn't playing well at all. So he plays second and third base too. I'd probably rather have Luis Urias, but here's another guy in Houston, Chas McCormick, outfielder, just getting playing time because Kyle Tucker's on the COVID injured list, but we don't know when he'll come back. If he's vaccinated, he'll be back in like a couple days, but if he's not vaccinated, regardless of if he's positive or not, he'll be back in like 3 days. So Kyle Tucker's out for the moment. Alex Bregman now is out for more than the moment, and I don't know his injury, but Chas McCormick is somebody to put on your roster because he's been hitting like crazy. Absolutely. He's got, in the last 2 weeks, it's 4 home runs, but in the last 1 week, it's 3 home runs. He's hit 3 home runs in the last week. 4 RBIs, 273 average. Chas McCormick, and he's going to still get playing time even if Tucker is vaccinated and coming back off of the IL. Or the COVID list, I should say. Chas McCormick, why not, right? He's been hitting, but his batting average on the season is .214. He's got 23 RBIs, 8 home runs, and that's in 98 at-bats so far, 42 games he's played. But he's been certainly quiet, don't you think? Nobody's even noticed him. That's how mediocre at best he was doing. So anyway, he's playing. He's going to get the time. I didn't do a lot of research on him. I just noticed that he's hitting the bat. He's hitting the ball like crazy right now. And Houston's a great team with great matchups this week. Billy McKinney, he's another one I hesitated even putting on this list. The fact that he's hitting 133 over the last week, right, with no home runs, no RBIs, nothing. He's got, though, on the year, he's got 7 home runs, and that's why I put him on the list, because just because he hasn't done it in the last week, well, he's been hurt the last week. He's only had 15 at-bats all last week, so that cannot be telling us the overall picture of what he's doing. If you look at his last 2 weeks or last 3 weeks, you will see that his batting average ranges around like 260, okay? Plus, he has 7 home runs in 150 at-bats. It's not a ton of home runs, but he's got 2 home runs. I don't even know. All I know is he's been out. He hit yesterday. All these numbers that I have on here do not show yesterday, and the reason that I brought him up is because he did something good yesterday. That's all I'm saying. They actually play. Obviously, they play 8 games. That's what I already told you. They play against Atlanta and Philly. They have a doubleheader on the 21st and a doubleheader on the 25th. Think of that. So they still actually get a day off. They have 2 doubleheaders, which means 7-inning games, which, by the way, it will take away from the 8 games that they play. You could just take 1 game right off of the bat because they only get 7 innings. That's 4 innings difference. What's the point? You might as well just say that the Mets have a 7-game week. I don't think they get any benefit at all now that I see this 2 7-inning doubleheaders, whatever, junk. 2 of those games are not even really full games. Kevin Pillar, the Boston outfielder, I don't even know what the Boston Red Sox are, just keep on doing it. They just keep on winning games, and their pitching is, I don't know. Eduardo Rodriguez is the worst, but they just keep winning games, and I don't really get how, and I don't know how that's going to last. I did see an article that would be interesting to read. It was Verdugo talking about the rest of the people in the clubhouse and kind of like talking about their habits, their camaraderie and stuff like that, what's going on behind the scenes. Anyway, today is DeGrom's birthday, by the way. It's his 33rd birthday. which is another thing. You guys, let's look at him real quick. I want to know, how many innings do you think he has on his arm? He can't be like Sale, right? Or he can't. How many innings do you guys think he has on his arm? 2,000? Let's see. Oh, not too many. He's only been pitching since 2014. He's got 1,236 innings on his arm. That's great. His career stats, 250 ERA, 194 games started, 1,236 innings, and 1,470 strikeouts. And his whip is 102. That's crazy. He hasn't been around as long as I thought, though. Anyway, he's 33 today, so happy birthday, dude. Let's see who else. Bobby Bradley. Is it time to pick up Bobby Bradley? Another first baseman. Definitely choose him over Vogelbach. I think you should choose him over Vogelbach. But this is a Cleveland. It looks like they have 5-game week. Maybe not. Hold on a second. What day is the 26th? That's on Saturday. No, I don't have Sunday on the list yet. But Bobby Bradley, in the past week, he's hit 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 261 batting average. He's getting it done pretty much in the power department. He only has 36 at-bats. So in 36 at-bats, he has 4 homers, 11 RBIs, 9 runs, and a 333 batting average. So that's over the past 2 weeks. He's somebody to look at for first baseman. Odor is another guy that's getting playing time every day. He's playing, Odor qualifies at second base. He's a Yankee now, and he might be the only hitter on the Yankees actually getting it done. In the last 7 days, 2 homers, two ribbies. He bats at the bottom of the order, so you're not going to get a lot of ribbies out of this guy. But maybe he has moved up. Let's check it out. The batting orders change sometimes. Let's take a look. New York Yankees. All right, today's lineup. Odor is batting 7th, and for the most part, he bats 6th. He was sitting out that day. Bats 7th. Wow, he sure hits a lot of home runs for 1, 2, batting 6th, batting 3rd. Holy moly. I have seen so many teams changing their batting lineup all the time. There's probably at least 1 or 2 guys on every single team, and I'm not exaggerating, that is constantly has hit from every spot in the batting order. Well, okay, so what are they trying to do? They're trying to figure out where this guy is good in the batting order, or is this out of necessity? Why do they keep moving these players around in the batting order this much? I feel like it's happening a lot more this year, or maybe, just maybe, I'm looking at the lineups more than I normally do. That could possibly be it. Taylor Ward is the same thing. These two, these Bobby Bradleys, Rougned Odor, not Rougned, but Taylor Ward. These guys, young. There's another one on here. Just young, hard-hitting, bad batting, 3 true outcome type guys. They're always available every single week. You can find these guys. Bobby Bradley is one of the new ones. Taylor Ward is one. Like Patrick Wisdom was a guy. Anyway, Taylor Ward might have hit a grand slam yesterday. I know he hit a home. I know he did something. I have him on the list. He's hit 3 home runs in the last 2 weeks, 326 batting average, 46 at bats, played in 13 games in the last 14 days. So he's going up against lefties. Let me see. Check this. Maybe this is a guy that doesn't. One of these guys does not get to be in the lineup when there's a lefty in. I will tell you that. Let me see if it's him. Nope, he's in there. Is it Bradley? Let's see if it's Bradley. Bobby Bradley. Let's see. Bobby Bradley. Yep, he's in there against a lefty. Who is it? It's not Kevin Pillar, right? Is it Billy McKinney? Did we check him? Let's check him. batting against the lefty. These are all righties. So anyway, we'll find him. We have, look, Jesus Sanchez, a rookie prospect, was called up last week. He's like Miami's top prospect. Okay, that's fine, but just be careful of this. You know how it works out. He's owned in 36% of the league, so that's pretty much all the dynasty leagues. He's owned. The rest of the leagues, he's probably available. He was a top prospect. At AAA, he was batting .349 with 9 home runs, 28 RBIs, 19 runs in 33 games this season. He is going to get an opportunity to play right now because the injuries in the Marlins outfield, and he was hitting well, but he hasn't really been able to translate this into the major leagues. And I just don't trust that he will, I don't know, be cautious of this guy. You could try for Steven Duggar. He's a San Francisco outfielder, and we already know what he's going to do for the most part, what he does. Look, last night there was Jock Peterson hit 2 home runs last night. Will Myers hit 2 home runs and a double. He had a great night, Will Myers. And Cedric Mullins hit 2 home runs. The guy in Baltimore, nobody really knew. We knew who he was, but nobody was excited about him. Now he's batting leadoff, so that's what piqued our interest at first, that Cedric Mullins was going to bat leadoff. But we've been watching him all season. He's been okay. He's been hitting very good. This is a guy that's going to hit close to 300. We just didn't really know for sure if the power was going to be there yet or what else he was going to do in Baltimore. It was Cedric Mullins t-shirt day at the ballpark too. So cheers to our boy Cedric Mullins, okay? Here's a couple pictures for you to grab this week. Ross Stripling, I picked him up last week. I think I probably told you guys to pick him up last week. Maybe I didn't, but I think I might have, because I usually tell you guys anybody that I'm getting ready to pick up. Ross Stripling is a must add. He's probably the best available two-start pitcher this week. I'm not saying he's the best in baseball, but he is the best available two-start pitcher, I think. There's not a lot to choose from this week for the two-start streaming pitchers. 5 starts for Ross Stripling. Unbelievable that he's started that many games. I remember when they said, just the fact that he went to Toronto was like a breath of fresh air, because he has not been given the opportunity to be in the rotation, as his last stop was in LA, and they didn't have room for him. He never got to pitch. He never got to start, but he was not a bad starter when he did. So anyway, when he went to Toronto, he wasn't very good. Now he's been good. In the last 5 starts that he's made this season, he has a 2.45 ERA with 29 strikeouts, 8 walks in 29 and a third innings, and he has allowed 2 runs or less in 4 of those 5 outings. He's only averaged just 1 walk a game, and he is not a walk batter. He does not give free passes to runners. So that's a positive. He can only get shelled so bad if he's not walking 5 batters in the first inning. I don't know how they come back in for the second inning after that, but, I don't make the calls. There's another one that you could, if you're in a deep league, Chris Flexen. He's really not bad, especially if you stream him at home. He's been decent, really. Seattle's really a benefit as a home park for any pitcher, but he's going to face Colorado at home, and we know how bad Colorado is on the road. He doesn't pitch 2 starts this week, so he's just a regular 1-start guy. But he's gone at least 6 innings in each of his last 4 starts. Okay, Chris Flexen. And he doesn't strike out a lot of guys. That's why you haven't heard of him. So he only had 20 strikeouts in 27 innings. But he doesn't walk a lot of batters too. So if you're in Seattle and you don't walk batters, that's a plus for you. He only walked, in the last 4 starts, he's walked 3 batters. And Malpow will love this one. He's a 55% ground ball guy. So that, if you're not going to strike anybody out, you better be inducing a lot of ground balls. If you don't strike anybody out, you got to be a ground ball guy to make it happen. So he's doing that. Yes, sirree. Jake Odorizzi, another Houston player. Houston is a great matchup this week. Did I mention that Houston faces Baltimore and then Detroit? 3 games. 4 games, 7 games total on the week. So think of that compared to the New York Mets 8 mini game week, because they're 8 games, big deal. They play 2 7-inning double headers, which is 8 innings off. They might as well pitch 7. That's all there is to it. Odorizzi, did I say they're going to Baltimore and Detroit? Yes. He's been pretty effective since he came back from the injured list late May. He didn't start the season until recently. He's got a 3.63 ERA. Okay, so that's what I have. God, I feel like I should have more stuff, but let's see what else. I'll check in with the chat room and see how you guys are doing. Hi, Matt Hooper. You said you weren't going to play baseball anymore. You were not going to play any more fantasy because you were sick and tired of losing. But you have to be resilient in baseball because it goes for a long time. You can't be tired of losing in week 12 or 13 because you still have like at least, I would say, another 10 weeks to go. Whatever you did, you need to turn it around, and you need to remember that. I don't know. So I want to help you. Am I not helping you? I guess if I was helping you, you would win and you wouldn't be so frustrated, right? So I should feel kind of bad a little bit, or guilty, that you are always losing. I should take some responsibility for this, right? Don't you think? You didn't enter your Saturday lineup, but let's check on my DraftKings team. So last time I put together a DraftKings team on the last 5 minutes of my show, and it came in second place, and I got $60 off of it. Yes, that's right. And now I just use it to play more games. I've already whittled it down. In 1 week, I've whittled it down to $35. I think that was last Saturday. That was fun. Let's check the lineups. I was going to maybe talk about that, and we could I don't have any lineups. Did I not get my tell me I got my lineup in? Yes. Live, upcoming. Recent. I don't have one in, so let's find one for later. I was talking about going and targeting Trevor Bauer right now. I think that if you like going over what we talked about at the beginning of the show, people are worried right now that because and for good reason. Okay, I'm not saying they shouldn't be worried. For good reason, they're concerned about the fact that Bauer's spin rate has gone up 17%, which is far and away more than any other pitcher. That's just, I don't know if anybody could even try to get it up that high with the spin rate going up 17%. They say that about 3% can be rubbed off, like blown off. 3%, the increase in spin rate of 3%. But anything above that can't really be explained by an increase in velocity, or like usually pitchers. I've never seen a pitcher increase their velocity by more than a mile per hour or a little more than that. It doesn't ever increase by like 5 miles an hour. A pitcher doesn't, come back one season and then he's throwing 5 miles an hour faster. It just doesn't. I don't think that's ever happened. But it fluctuates a little bit, and you can learn to throw the ball harder. But Bauer talks about the I told you about the Bauer units, and there's different spin on different types of pitches. So like if you're throwing a 4-seam fastball, the spin goes back towards the pitcher. The spin is going like this. It's rolling back. If you're throwing a breaking pitch, a curveball or whatever, or a changeup, it's the changeup, then that spin goes forward, right? And the amount of movement that it has is rise or low, but that is, they actually call the spin rate either rise or low, depending on whether it goes up and then it makes the hitter swing underneath the pitch, or if it goes down, it's a changeup usually, and it's called low. So I really feel like, I believe that Bauer can pitch either way, and I believe that he is definitely able to go. He's one of the few pitchers that is going to be healthy at the end of the season because he's used to pitching not only just 200 innings, but he's used to pitching a lot, throwing a lot of pitches. Last night, you should watch the post-game press conferences with him, the post-game interviews with Bauer. I love this Zoom meeting stuff because you get to actually be right there. When they question Bauer, then they question Dave Roberts. You can really tell which ones of these beat writers, that Bauer likes and he doesn't, because his facial expressions show pretty much like, oh God, it's him again. Because they always say like this, okay, the next question is from so-and-so. And then they put the name up on the screen and you could just see Bauer's face. And you could tell if he's annoyed. Half the time he's annoyed anyway. So I'm not saying that he's always annoyed at somebody, but he kind of comes in there with an attitude right off the bat because he doesn't really like the reporters that write things about him that make him look bad. You know how they are. Some of them, he can't stand Ken Rosenthal, who's like the most well-respected guy in baseball. I wonder what he thinks of what's the dude name that's always talking about the freaking trades when it's hot stove? What's the dude? I can see his face in my head, but I can't think of his name, so I'll look in the chat room and see if you guys can save me. Oh, you have to spend. Matt Hooper says he's not willing to spend money not winning any money, but so this must mean that you have to pay for moves that you make every time. How much do you have to pay for moves in this league? Do you have to pay every week maybe? Or I thought you had a couple season-long leagues. I played in some of these leagues where it costs money to pick up players and stuff, but that usually just comes out of either your fab or, you pay at the end of the year. What does that mean? You would be the Steve Carlton of this era if you were playing. What does that mean? Jose Ramirez is out of the lineup today. What does that mean? Okay. And okay, I have two questions. What does that mean? Every move is $10. Okay, so I want to know what Malpal means by he would be the Steve Carlton of baseball if he played today. And I also want to know the dude that always does the rumors, the hot stove, the guy that's always like on top of all the news, trying to be like, he goes to the manager meetings and he's always reporting who's going to go where, like trying to act like he knows before they actually do the trades. But I want to, anyway, going back. I feel like this is an opportunity to choose your risks where you want to make them this year. I said earlier, everybody has to make a risk to win. You can't just play and just hope to win. As in some leagues you can, but very few. Any competitive league, you're going to have to do something crazy. You're going to have to make choices. So that's all I'm saying. You have to make choices. And the person that drafted Bauer, the one thing about my leagues is that I get to go around and see what people think about players, because these people are writing for websites or they're on Sirius Radio, and I could spy on them, and I love it because it really helps me figure out what they're feeling about certain players. And we were talking after the roundtable last week. Me and Joe and Douglas stayed on the phone, and we talked about this particular idea for at least 45 minutes after, and it was a fun topic. I think it was probably more fun for me because it's my team. Nobody really likes talking about other people's teams, but they were very good with me. They walked it through with me. We talked about different players that we could offer for Bauer. Like to Jake Seeley was the one we were looking at in labor. Jake Seeley has Bauer. And I have Luis Castillo on the who hasn't been very good. I have Zach Gallen in that league. And so you can go and you could search The Athletic for Jake Seeley, and you could look at his past articles about what he thinks of Luis Castillo. He was actually telling somebody that it was time to give up on Luis Castillo, so he wouldn't be a good offer, but I probably wouldn't do that anyway. I think that I could get Bauer for a couple of a lesser pitcher and a hitter in that league. And I'm either me and Ronis keep going back and forth between last place and 11th place in that league, or maybe it might be 15 team league, but I think it's 12, but we're both going back and forth in last place. So, I mean, you talk about, you have to do something. I will I will probably finish in last place if I don't do something drastic. And I'm getting a lot of players back from injury, but I just feel like it would be fun to get Bauer. I don't have Bauer on any team. Somebody out there is worried. Would you guys trade him if you have him? I know, Matt Hooper, that you have Bauer on a team. I also know that you're not a big fan of his, okay? But, we could separate out that versus his fantasy value. And Bauer's been excellent for fantasy value. And it surprises me that you would even have him on your team to begin with, because it's the type of guy that is so, you either like him or you don't like him. You just either think he's got an interesting character or you just don't like it. He's got a very aggressive personality. Frankly, I like it. I think that he's great for baseball. But regardless of that, are you concerned about his spin rate? Are you concerned about his pitching? Because I will say this, before 2000, he had a great first half of the season in 2018. He had a great first half, but other than that, and besides last year, of course, his 60-game season Cy Young Award, which was excellent. He had a great season, no doubt about it. Any other year, though, that he's been pitching ever since he was called up from the minor leagues, and even before that, he's never had a great ERA. He's never had a great whip. He's always been able to strike out a decent amount of batters, but he always walks batters. He still walks batters. I don't have him on any team because he was way too expensive. He was so expensive. He was going in like the second round and stuff, and I just wasn't willing to go there. I'm sad that I didn't. I think it's going to be interesting. I love the way that he just proves people wrong all the time with his work ethic and his knowledge and his just engineer mind that he has. He's way above the intellectual plane, okay, of the rest of baseball. And he's ballsy. Like, I just think it's great. Is it risky to think that he's going to pitch as good now that they're going to enforce this? Do you even think they're going to enforce this? Talk about delay of game, people. The freaking umpire has to come out and now do like a full body scan for sticky substance now during the middle of the game, or when does this happen? MLB doesn't think things through that good. I don't think I'm the only one. I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. In fact, I think the majority of fans are like, why don't you ever think about your actual goals when you're implementing things? Like, your goal is to make the game more exciting to watch. It's to get more fans, right? Your goal is to shorten the game, less boring shit. And what do? You find a way to make the game longer is what you do. Actually, you go completely opposite of what your intended goal is. A lot of this has to do with their social and their virtue signaling and their ridiculousness in that area. But beyond that, way beyond that, they're doing other stuff like implementing these rules down in the minor leagues that, like, they've already had a pitch clock in the minor leagues. They're supposed to have a pitch clock in the minor leagues. They're supposed to, but they don't ever enforce it. When the pitch clock goes over, the minor leaguers don't get penalized. So here's a situation. You're training the minor leaguers to pitch slow because they know that if it goes over the 20 seconds that they have to pitch, they will not get penalized. What they should be doing is enforcing that rule at the minor league so that they don't have to have a pitch clock in the majors, because they will get penalized right out of that habit and they will speed it up. Apparently Trevor Bauer was pitching really fast last night. One of the journalists, one of the beat writers, asked him if that was a strategy, speeding up his pitch count. And the same guy it's the one that he's annoyed at. It's the same guy that he's annoyed at every week. This guy asked questions like, I think he offended Bauer either last week or the week before, but he said he's accusing him basically of like, you've lost all these spin off of your ball, your fastball, your this, is this because of this sticky substance situation? And it's just a stupid question to ask a pitcher, although I don't blame them. And I kind of do like the fact that they asked, Garrett Cole, and I'm glad that they also asked Tyler Glasnow about it. Or maybe Tyler Glasnow just offered the information because he's pissed off. He says he should be pitching right now. And I agree. What do you think about Lamet? Malpal, is he ever going to work his way up to 5 innings? Just 5 innings. We're like 1 inning away from 5 innings. How long does it take a guy to go from 4 innings to stretched out to pitch 5 innings? Lamet, I get it. He can't be relied upon. You know, he's not going to be throwing any no hitters this year. He's not going to have any complete game shutouts this year. But can he pitch more than 4 innings, please? It's freaking June now, June 20th, and he's still not worked up to pitching. He can't even qualify for a win in fantasy. And it's just, and then they send back down Ryan Weathers. What's up with that? I realized that he wasn't really like a full-blown starting pitcher to begin with, but why did they send him down? I got to look at this, find it out. Depth charts. This is how handy RotoWire is. I could go everywhere I want. Let's look at San Diego. They must have got somebody back. They've got Yu Darvish, Musgrove, Snell, Paddock, and Lamet. Okay, those are the 5. But those were there before. And if you're gonna do that, then you have to. Then Dinelson Lamet should be throwing 5 innings. If you're not, you know, they had Weathers and Lamet. They were both kind of like starting openers / just early, you know, starting the game, but only going a couple innings. So I just figured this would last a couple weeks till they get stretched out. Lamet has been pitching for weeks. He goes into my roster every week, and he throws 4 innings. And he does get some, I mean, he still gets more strikeouts than other pitchers are going to get in 8 innings, but that's not the point, right? The media's greatest self-proclaimed expert since Bob Costas. I know these writers. Most are clowns. Okay? Had Lamet for 125 to 135 innings pitched for the season. And that's exactly what he's on pace for. That doesn't answer my question, though. Okay? What is he going to do? He's going to, on pace, he missed, I mean, if he's on pace and he's going to continue doing this, is that what you've heard, that he's going to continue doing this? Because it's very disappointing, I have to say. I'm not, you know, after I drop him, he'll start pitching 6, 7 innings. I guarantee you. All season, he hasn't pitched more than, he did. He pitched 5 innings one time. June 8th, he pitched 5 innings against the Cubbies. He struck out 6. So what's the problem? Oh, well, 4 earned runs in the 5th. I bet you that all happened in the 5th inning. I bet you. 4 earned runs in that game. Because they wouldn't have kept him in 5 innings if it didn't. That's probably what they're saying. They're probably saying, we left him in for 5 innings, and he, second or third time through the lineup, or whenever, it's probably second time through the lineup, he gets really bad, maybe. He just lost it. They don't want to hurt him, so they've now scaled back his innings. They're scaling back all kinds of rehabs, and it's happening all over baseball, where you get a player who's in rehab, and he's like Moustakas. Moustakas is playing in rehab games. That's how close he is to coming up, and all of a sudden they're like, halt, stop, got to stop. He had like a sore neck or a pain in his tongue or something. It's very, well, they're being extra cautious this year. And, who am I to not think that they should do that? They only played 60 games all last year, but I just feel like these guys keep in shape. They should be in shape to play 162 games in a season, whether they played 5 games, 6 games, 60 games, 100 games, whatever it is. They should be ready to play 162 games when the season starts, because they have all these months to get ready to play baseball. Then add that to all the spring training that they get ready to play baseball, which is too long in itself. But if you're the type of guy that it takes, 3 weeks to learn how to hit a baseball, then you have all Christmas, all Thanksgiving, all early spring. You have it all. 6 months worth of free time to just get ready to play baseball, since you're getting paid millions of dollars every year. And it just seems like it's not asking too much, really. I'm the baseball genius. Am I the baseball genius? I don't think I'm the baseball genius. I'm just opinionated. I'm not trying to pass my opinion off as some kind of fact. if you get confused as to what's fact and what's my opinion, do let me know, because I'd like to clarify. Seriously, I don't I'm wrong all the time, but I absolutely, just like all of us, I have an opinion. You should voice your opinion. Definitely. You could be your own genius. I'm a self-proclaimed baseball genius. Genius of the day. That's what I am. I should let you guys go now. Lenny's with his daughter at lunch, Rachel. She's with him. She's a teacher in Queens, New York. And it's her and her boyfriend. They're going maybe they're going out to lunch, but they're celebrating Father's Day. I thought about my father today. He passed away in 2015. And I always think about him on Father's Day, but he was a great father. And I saw this story about Lindor today. Lindor and his dad raised 5 kids, and just basically Lindor says that he's everything he's exactly who made me what I am today, which I guess now, just being an adult, you look at that different. Having Mark in my life, which is Lenny's son, but I feel like he's my kid, the closest thing that I'll ever have to a kid. He's been around me since he was 10. Now he's 22. So I kind of look at him as my son, and I feel like, I don't know, it's special. So the article was called like Lindor is going to have a great Grand Slam, Happy Father's Day or something like that. And the way that it was worded, it made me feel like it said that he was going to spend Father's Day with his dad. Now, look, maybe Father's Day, these guys come, I bet you a lot of dads come to the baseball park to watch their sons play baseball, but baseball is happening. So Lindor needs to be in the lineup. You know what I mean? They could have dinner afterwards or spend the weekend together, whatever it is. It's on Sunday. So, I bet there's a lot of fathers at the ballparks. I think they get a certain number of tickets anyways, but have you seen the baseball parks lately? It is so great. It is so great to watch and hear the sound of the fans who are extra energetic, okay, because they haven't been able, or maybe this just sounds louder than normal because it is louder than normal that these teams are getting cheered on. And even with like half the stadium, the ballparks filled up, you just did not get the sound, the really just loud stadium sound. The Padres fans are out of control, going crazy. The Cubbies, okay, at Wrigley Field, it was packed house, just all the fans just really rooting for their teams. That's one thing I feel bad for Toronto about, because Toronto deserves to have their fans in a year where Toronto is doing so good. And believe me, they have a very good chance of winning the National League East. The Toronto Blue Jays are the best team in the the American League East. They're the best team in the American League East. No question. They might not be able to beat Tampa Bay, but it is nice, one of those years where you just don't have to worry about the Red Sox, Yankees. You actually will see the Toronto Blue Jays. They will be right there when it comes time. If they get a pitcher, that's all they need. But the problem is they don't get to play at a real baseball park. They get to play in basically a temporary rental baseball park in Buffalo, and they don't get to go home at all this season and to Toronto to play at Rogers Center, if they still call it Rogers Center. I don't see why they wouldn't, but baseball parks, they change names sometimes. Rogers Center is what I know it to be. There's a hotel literally in the ballpark. The hotel is in the ballpark, and it's right down the first base line. And you can look down out your window, and you can look down on the ballpark and watch the game from your room. How nice is that? We haven't been there yet. I love it. PNC, you get to go to PNC. Matt Hooper, you should look at Bauer's latest video. It was he was in Pittsburgh, right, at the game. It was, I don't know if they're there now, or maybe I think they were there about maybe a couple days ago. Pittsburgh is one of the most beautiful places to live, to see. I mean, I haven't lived there, but I do know that they have per capita, they have the most fruit markets. What do you guys call it? We call it the Saturday market, but it's like fresh produce out there. There's like 4 or 5 different areas of Pittsburgh, and they all are very different from each other. And Dude, some of the places that you go to see baseball games, there's a lot of trash around, or like they don't keep it very clean outside the ballpark. I mean, take Angel Stadium for one. Okay, they had a whole freaking encampment in their parking lot at some point a couple years ago, but PNC is clean. The sidewalks in this city look like they are swept. It literally looks like somebody drives by in one of those sweeping, those sweeping mobiles, and it sweeps the streets. Now, the streets are made out of cobblestones, so it's really adds so much character to this ballpark. That is not a great picture of the backdrop of PNC, but it looks like, to me, it looks like you're on a Disneyland ride, the Small World. It's got this bridge going over. It reminds me of the Small World. I don't really know for sure that is like normal, but it's unbelievable. So Pittsburgh, plus the people there are friendly. The ballpark workers are nice. They give you, like, when you come there, you tell them it's your first time. They will give you present. They will take you around. They take you to the back. I mean, they did that in Fenway Park too. I'm sure they would do that at most parks, but just the people in Pittsburgh seem like they're happy people. They're nice people. They have a great accent too, and fun food. Now, another reason that Pittsburgh PNC is the best park around is because of the pricing. You could sit right behind home plate for $40 for a set of 2 tickets. You could sit behind home plate. I'm not kidding. It's less than $25 a ticket, and maybe it was a second level, maybe, but I really felt like we were up super close. Lenny got the tickets right at the gate, right at the window. We went up to the window beforehand and bought them straight from the ticket window. But the tickets were really, and the parking, it was $10 to park the car, and it was like 2 blocks away, and it was $10 to park the car. And I think Lenny was saying that it cost like 60 or 70. No, it was Mitchell Hartson. He lives in Washington, D.C. He said it's $70 to park your car to go see the Nationals game at Nats Park. That is like, there's no possible reason why you should be driving your car down to see a Nats game. Like $70 to park your car. Think of how many beers you could get for $70. Take the transit, take the train. That's what you do. Or an Uber. But seriously, that's the difference. $10 to park at Pittsburgh, and it's right downtown, right down in the city. I just think it's a beautiful place. It reminds me of the West Coast the most out of any place on this side of the country. There it is, the backdrop. There's part of it anyway. Okay, that's the part of it. We're getting better, dude. We're getting better. There you go. It's so beautiful. But you don't have the bridge. Where's the bridge? I hope you put another one in here. I like the left side. Right on the left side, I want to be able to see that bridge. That's huge. Or maybe you can barely see the bridge in this. The yellow bridge on the left. Pretty, right? Pittsburgh. You were there last night, and Matt Hooper, did you see the game? Did you see? I mean, of course you saw. They were ahead 11-1 in the 5th inning, and then they lost. They didn't lose, but they tried to lose. They won the game 11-10. But that's crazy. So I was telling them before you got here, Matt, about the fact that, holy moly, this is why you don't stop playing hard when you're beating another team in baseball. You don't stop and say to yourself, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I hit that home run, or I'm sorry that I stole a base on you. This is why, because they damn near lost this game, and they were ahead 11-1. Did this game last forever? The bridge is the Clemente Bridge. Okay, the bridge is called the Clemente Bridge. Lindor was saying that when his dad gets in his baseball stance, right, whenever he's getting ready to like swing a bat, he gets into his Clemente stance. Is that right? Is he Hold on a second. Clemente. He's got a specific stance, I think. That's what Lindor's dad does every time he gets in there, I think. Let me look it up. It's Roberto Clemente, right? Yes, 1955 to 1972. 1955 to 1972. That's about right. 37 years old, he retired. He started at 20. Every single season, he had more than 500 at-bats, except for just a couple here and there. For the most part, I mean, he played every season 500 and on. 500 every season at least. 600 mostly, 600. He was probably batting leadoff. He definitely wasn't hitting in the middle of the order because he wasn't really that kind of hitter, right? He hit 29 home runs one time. That was the most he's ever hit in a season. Maybe that was a lot back then. Didn't walk very much, but you know, back then you couldn't strike out 20% and even stay in baseball. You could not get away with striking out 20%. He only struck out 13, 16 was the most that he ever struck out, 16%. One year he struck out 16, but for the rest of the time he was at like 12%. Nowadays, you could be fine. Actually, you're doing pretty good if you're striking out 20% of the time. That's pretty good in today's day and age. The Pirates pitchers, they suck. Yes, this is true. There it is. Oh, it's so nice and pretty. And it has a beautiful American flag right out there. It's so nice. Tell me you see the small world in there. And look at, there's hardly anybody around. It's so nice. Dude, the park is always social distancing. Okay, he batted third his whole career. So you probably know more about this than I would. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go now because I don't have a lot more to talk about, or we could put together a lineup for the day. That's what I'm going to do next. It's time to go, though, because nobody has time for this nonsense. I wish you guys good luck on your DFS, on your daily games, and do go pick up some players next week. Forget about this 8-game nonsense, like I said earlier, because those 8 games for the Mets, at least, they don't really pan out that good. And with 8 games, you know you're going to at least play one doubleheader. It has to be, at least one. So you're looking for the team with the most games and the least doubleheaders, and that would probably be Atlanta at this point. Houston has a great matchup, and just we'll see you tomorrow. Lenny and I will be on 7 to 10 a.m. And Douglas will be here at noon, and I will meet you guys here at noon, too. If you're not going to listen to Sirius for whatever reason. I'm going.